First story. My fiancé cheated on me with my mother and had a child I'm raising as my brother. My mill knew about it, but stayed silent, so I called off the wedding, cut ties with my mom, and went NC. Now my ex-fiancé came back, begging to reconcile, and said he was getting full custody of his son, my brother, and he needed me. Yes, the title is F-ed up. I'm aware. My fiancé 25M and myself 24F have been together since we were 17 and 18 years old. Honestly, he was always kind, handsome, and funny, and everyone used to say I was so lucky to have the whole package. I felt so lucky, too. He always treated me with love and respect, so this makes everything just so shocking for me. I have always had a good relationship with my mom. It has always been her and me against the world. My dad died in an accident when I was little. We always joked that we were the real-life Rory and Lorelai from Gilmore Girls. My mom dated guys on and off, and they were usually cool, but nothing really past the early stages. Around 4 years ago, my mom told me she was pregnant, which was a huge surprise. My mom was around 42 years old, and although she was sort of dating someone recently, didn't meet the guy, but knew she went on dates, it was still a big shock. She never thought she could be pregnant at her age. She had me when she was super young and opsy, and I can tell she was stressed and worried. I decided to support her since she has always supported me, and I tried to reassure her. She then had my brother, who is now 3 years old. I have a close relationship with my brother. I have taken care of him since he was born, and I just love the little guy. My fiancé was also always helpful with my brother. We would take him out for ice cream, the playground, pool time during the summer, etc. But nothing was weird. He was just my then boyfriend spending time with my brother and me. Now to how I found out. My fiancé and I have lived together since we finished college. My friend was not at home since he was hanging out with friends, but I was home because I didn't feel like going out and just wanted to chill on my sofa. At some point while watching a series on Netflix, my laptop died, and I was too lazy to go get my charger, so I just took my fiancé's iPad. I know the password, but honestly, I have never used it before. The iPad logged in, and I got a bunch of messages pinging. I guess he hasn't used it in a while too. Anyway, this got my attention, and I went to check it out, and of course I found everything. My mom's number wasn't under her name, but I recognized the number and verified it with my phone. She was telling him she felt guilty, and that I should know. He said he also felt guilty, but couldn't lose me, and they F-ed it up. She said that it was unfair for my brother to never not know his dad, and that if he could live with his son around, he would not behaving like a dad, but like a brother-in-law. I break down. What is the actual F? There weren't a lot of older messages, just some photos stored of my brother as a newborn, my mom pregnant, and more photos of my brother growing up in an album. I couldn't anymore. I cried for what seemed like ages, and I waited for my boyfriend to come back home. I wish I was one of those women who can pretend and get things together before confronting the cheater, but I can't. He came back later that night around 23:30, and I just gave him the iPad with the conversation open and saw his face completely go pale. I asked for an explanation. When, how, and why. And he didn't want to at first, but he knew he had to. Apparently a few years back, while I was traveling with some friends, a girls' trip, my fiancé and mom had dinner together. This isn't strange since he has been part of the family for so long. Sometimes mom and fiancé would eat together at our place, even if I was busy with sports or out. I did the same with his parents. Somehow unclear how, since he couldn't explain it well, one thing led to another, and they ended up sleeping together. They felt guilty, but apparently not guilty enough because they slept together 2-3 more times, using the excuse of meeting up to discuss how to tell me. Apparently, when my mom got pregnant, they stopped sleeping together and decided not to tell me, since my fiancé loved me and couldn't lose me, and my mom didn't want to lose her daughter. So here we are now, with two of the most disgusting humans. I obviously broke the engagement, told my mom to never talk to me again, and moved in with a friend. I feel bad for my brother since I really love him, but I can't be around him now. I just can't. I feel like it would remind me of all those times we talked about having kids. I would be his baby mama, his only baby mama. We talked about this future since we were 17 years old. So I want to puke every time I think about how I was actually taking care of his child with someone else while still having those dreams. I want to puke. Relevant comments. Flynn_jam. When did this all happen? When were the texts written? If recent, it seems like they were probably still in a relationship, and your mom wanted him to leave you to go play house with her. OP. The messages I found were on different dates. ranging between 2 months and 2 weeks before I found them on the iPad. I'm sure he deleted older ones. I feel like I don't yet have the whole picture, but I don't think I can hear more about it at this time. I haven't had a talk with my mom. I just sent her a text saying I knew and to not talk to me again or see me. She has tried texting and calling, but I blocked her, and now she has no idea. Same with my fiancé. I'm afraid they will try to confront me in person somewhere around the city, at work, etc. I don't think I can handle that yet. OP. I work from 9 to 6 in an office. I cannot do remote work. If they want to find me, it's easy for them to do so. I have let my closest co-workers know if they see my mom or fiancé around to let me know ASAP, so I can avoid them. But beyond that, I'm not sure I have much control. My city isn't huge either, so I'm always on the lookout now, hoping to not run into them. Available criticism 8. On your young brother's birthday, go back 9 months to gauge when he was conceived and find out what age your ex was then. Younger than 18. The police are waiting for the call. A lawyer is waiting for a case. Good luck, and I'm sorry. OP. He was 20-ish, so no police. And I don't think she groomed him. Renwin. So your mom, at 42 years old, slept with your then 22-year-old boyfriend multiple times, got pregnant by him, kept the baby, and never told you who the father was even after you got engaged. Yikes on all the bikes. I'm so sorry, honey. That's an incredible betrayal on every front. OP. I asked her who the dad was when she broke the news to me, but she said it was a guy she was casually dating, and he wanted nothing to do with the baby. I should have questioned more back at that time, but I just never thought the reality would be this, not in a million years. Update. First, I want to thank everyone for the nice messages and comments. I was not expecting so much support. I'm still a mess, not gonna lie. But after reading the comments, I felt better, like a therapy mini session. So again, thank you all. To the update. As I was afraid, I was indeed confronted near my office this week. I knew this was coming but thought maybe I had more time. My ex was the person to come find me. Yesterday wedding, after finishing work and walking to where my car was parked, my ex was sort of lingering, waiting around. I thought about running, not gonna lie. But I guess in the moment I felt strong enough to get over with it, instead of having that hanging above my head waiting to be approached again. He asked if we could talk, and I said yes. But I didn't feel like having that conversation over coffee like we were old friends. It felt ridiculous, so I told him to just talk right there. We were in the streets. But somehow it wasn't crowded. But also not completely lonely. Felt right. He basically said sorry 100 times, and that I deserved better. I agreed. He said he did love me, and that he still does. But he would understand why I wouldn't want anything to do with him. He said that if I did in fact consider giving him a chance, he would go to therapy alone, together, or both, and that he would work hard to win my trust back. I told him it wasn't possible. There was too much damage. This sounds calm when I type it, but in the moment, things came out more with a louder tone and harsher words. Anyways, he did say that he is in, or will be in the process of getting custody partly from my brother, and that he, in fact, does want to be his dad. He said he does not want to be together with my mom, and that it was just a stupid mistake. Sure. BC 4-5 times mistake is just a random thing. He couldn't explain why he did it in the first place. I think he doesn't even know himself. I asked if he had cheated with someone else before, and he said no, not sure if to believe it, but he sounded honest. I asked why he didn't come clean, and he said that after he did the deed, he always felt panicked, and it hit him that he could lose me, and he just didn't want to. I told him it was meant to be found out. What was his plan? To have my brother around and ignore their relationship forever. He said he didn't think far enough, and that he was basically going with the idea of survival, one day at a time. I asked him if he felt that my mom seduced him. He said it was mutual, which made me want to puke again. I asked if he had any contact with my mom since I found out. He said yes, but mostly about my brother. I didn't elaborate more, and I didn't press for more information on that. He said he told his parents the day before, or the day before, that he was not sure, Monday or Tuesday, about everything. The parents were not happy, but they are glad to start building a relationship with my brother, their grandkid. Honestly, all of this felt like a punch in my stomach. I don't know why. The parents wanted to contact me, but he told them to wait till he approached me first, hence why he was here. I asked if he started or thought about the custody before I found out, and he said no. But when I found out, it was like the push he needed. It seems I helped him get his SHT together. Ugh. And this past week, he was arranging all of that mess. That's why he hasn't tried to see me before. He sounded and looked defeated, but the whole thing made me besides being sad, angry. I was mainly depressed before, but now I'm furious. I feel like he is still in an okay place, and he isn't paying for his actions beyond me leaving him. He will have my brother, his parents, and others and move on with his life, while I lose everything. I hate him. We parted ways, not on a happy note, and I told him to never get near me again. I was done. He asked me to see my brother still, that I was important to him, and tried to guilt trip me, and it worked. But I still think I can't. I don't know much about my mom, and I really hope she doesn't come find me anytime soon, because I'm fuming right now and won't be able to handle it. I will be contacting my family and friends and finally doing the blasting today. I think it is about time, and after my talk with him, I got the extra push I needed. Relevant comments. Start 46. I was thinking the same thing as far as how does anyone know for sure he's the dad, not that it matters. And also get an STD test, because who knows what the mom was doing, and obviously no care for her daughter's safety, either by having unprotected sex with him and putting her daughter at risk. OP. I had a test done last week, and it was all clear. But just the fact to think that he was inside me, and inside my mom, and potentially the same day or week, turns my stomach. I feel so disgusted that I try not to think about it without much success. Operks 1337. I highly doubt his parents the whole truth. Most likely, he told them things to spin it into his favorable side. I'd say to meet his parents and ask them what they heard or knew, and then see if that matches with what is actually true. OP. I wonder too what he told them, but I will probably hear about it soon. I suppose his parents will contact me this week. They have always been nice to me and treated me like their own child. My ex is an only child, and the mom always wanted a girl, you know how that goes. I have known them since I was 15 years old, but I can also see them being on their own side, no matter what. I wouldn't be surprised. Beginning stop 7646. Does anyone else get the feeling that the only reason he guilted OP about her little brother was in the hopes she returns to the ex and helps him raise her little brother like a stepson? Or possibly so she can still maintain somewhat of a relationship with him or her mom? OP. I did get that feeling. He was trying to get me back, or try to make me see that things can be better, and he can do better. Once he understood he wasn't getting anywhere, he started to talk about how my little brother would miss me, and how I could just leave him hanging. I can still be in his life, and he, my ex, will make things easier for that. That's one of the reasons he is asking for custody, so I don't have to see my mom. Second story. My entitled family accused my wife of cheating, so I abused her and divorced her. Then, I beat the sh*t out of my father and brothers after learning the truth, and went to reconcile with my wife. But she refused, saying she had moved on and wouldn't even give me another chance. I've been divorced for almost 2 years, and a few weeks ago, my father 67M, my 2 brothers 37M and 40M, and 4 friends 35M, 37M, 38M, and 41M, while very drunk joked about how they couldn't believe I left my wife. They said that they had all tried to get with her since the divorce, but she had repeatedly rejected them, saying it would be inappropriate and unkind to do such a thing to me. I laughed at what they were saying just to ease them into saying more, and once they thought I found it funny, they really opened up. They had all purposely made me feel paranoid about my ex-wife cheating on me and using me, because why would a woman like her be with a man like me if it wasn't for the money I made? They often hinted at, or sometimes even directly said that she wore the pants in the relationship, and that she was only with me because I'm easily manipulated. They constantly planted negative things in my mind. If I went to talk with them about something happening in my relationship, they would put a negative twist on it, or they'd purposely give me bad advice. Then, when I lost my job during COVID, they all hinted at how she's definitely cheating now that there's no financial benefit to being faithful to me. I obviously trusted them and often took their words to heart, and it ruined my marriage. I frequently argued with my wife, and I was always accusing her of something or suspecting her of not really loving me. I questioned everything that was between us. I often told her bullshit things like how I'm a high-value man, and that she needed to appreciate me. And when I was not working for 6 months, I flipped the script and started accusing her of not respecting me for not working. I was unappreciative of all her hard work, and for being the one who took care of our household bills and any other bills during those 6 months of unemployment. I continued to let their words drive me into paranoia, and I started accusing her of cheating with her co-workers. Eventually, my wife had enough of my moods, constant mistrust, and accusations. She left me, and to be honest, for a long time, it felt like it came out of nowhere, so I had myself convinced she left me for another man. Now here I am knowing that every man I've called my family, my friend, were all my enemies who I let destroy my marriage. I obviously lost my mind once they were done telling me all the ways they conspired to ruin my marriage. And we did get to blows. I've cut off all contact with each and every one of them. I want to reach out to my ex, make amends, and hopefully get her back. My ex-wife has agreed to meet up with me, but she doesn't know exactly what I want to discuss with her. And I don't know how to go about making amends and hopefully mending our relationship. How do I tell her how much I regret everything and that I want her to give me a second chance? Is there even a chance for us? Edit. Some of y'all keep saying, you took the words of your friends over your wife's, and I don't think that's a fair or complete assessment. I trusted my father and brothers. My father was the main driving force behind this manipulation campaign, and it's not often that your entire family is conspiring against you. And not only your family, but also your friends. I'm not running away from accepting the fact that it is wholly my fault for how my marriage ended. I take ownership of that. I take ownership of the fact that I accused my wife of being a cheater or a user. I regret it all. If my ex-wife doesn't accept my apology, I will accept it gracefully. If she said she never wanted to talk to me or ever get back together, I'd also accept it. I would not stand in the way, and I would not try to change her mind. I would wish her well and leave her be. Relevant comments. Fun statistician 550. Well, they certainly knew you're easy to manipulate, didn't they? I'm glad you cut these people off. And I would also make a concerted effort to hear your ex out. I don't know if she'll ever forgive you, but at least give her closure if that's what she needs. OP. As much as it hurts to read this, and to see myself as such a person, it is true. I trusted these men. I especially trusted my father and brothers. I never thought my own family would be plotting to ruin my marriage and get with my wife. I absolutely won't get in the way of her unburdening herself. I can only hope she can find a way to forgive me and possibly try to get back together. But I'm not holding my breath. I would respect her wishes, even if that meant she'd never forgive me. Island_Lord 830. I'm shocked. Ked, they are still alive after a confession like that. I don't know, man, Bahamians. Just too volatile to hear something like that and not go off. That's just vile. OP. I didn't include the violence that broke out once I heard it all because I didn't want to get my post banned. Blood was absolutely spilled. And of course I had my arse beat because it was 7 against 1. But I did do damage, and an ambulance and the police were called. None of us pressed charges against each other and left it at that. Honestly, I am still raging, and I've been heartbroken since. Update. I've only just realized that I let the men I call my family and friends ruin my marriage. On Sunday, I got to meet up with my ex-wife. I apologized profusely, and she was kind and understanding, but said she couldn't and wouldn't forgive me. She said that it simply isn't in her nature to forgive, and that despite it all, she holds no grudges or anger against me and wishes me nothing but goodness in my life. She did give me some advice and told me that I have been in an abusive relationship all my life, and that in order to heal whatever is broken in me, I should cut out my father, as he sets the tone for my treatment by the rest of my family. She had pointed out the many ways my father has hurt me or had encouraged my family to mistreat me. She said I'd always be stagnated and unhappy if I continued to associate myself with my family and former friends. I told her that I cut them out of my life, and that I've got my first therapy session scheduled in a few days. She said she was proud of me for taking my first step into healing. Our conversation was heartfelt and emotionally devastating, as we discussed the many ways our marriage had failed as well as the abuse I've experienced by my father and family. We cried the entire time. We cried a lot. We ended our conversation with a long hug, and then we said our goodbyes. In the comments. Texastica. I'm so sorry you are going through this. Too bad she can't forgive, because that's an important step in emotional maturity. I wish you healing and happiness. OP. Forgiveness is earned through changed behavior and recognition of your harm, but it isn't guaranteed or something you deserve. Some things shouldn't be forgiven, and that doesn't mean they eat away at the person or somehow hold them back. So I do agree with her when she says that you don't need to forgive in order to heal or gain emotional maturity. And sometimes, forgiveness is not even an option. For her, this is one of those things that she simply can't and won't forgive, and all I can do is accept it. As much as I'd like her forgiveness, it is simply not available to me, and that's perfectly fine. Third story. My entitled mom revealed that she allowed my brother to saw me when I was a toddler after he committed self-harm for her petty revenge. This ruined my image of my brother as a lovely, caring person. Now I can't even grieve properly. F asterisk 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 U. Mom. I need to somehow share this with someone. Even though it happened a while ago, I've been carrying this around with me for too long. Relevant. I am female. This also all takes place in Europe. A few years ago, my older brother committed self-harm. We were very close growing up due to N-mom and N-dad being extremely abusive, especially emotionally. He was my best friend growing up. Due to the emotional and physical abuse and neglect he suffered at the hands of our parents, he resorted to Sami. From about 4 years old upwards, I can remember this happening. He never hurt me, which is a small comfort, I know. When I was 8, I got angry and told him to stop, and he did. I am still damaged by this, though, which feels horrific, especially as I did love him a great deal. My dear aunt, who took him in later years and worked with challenged and disabled kids, said she was pretty sure he had undiagnosed Asperger's syndrome. My parents don't believe in mental illness, mental disorders, or anything similar. It was all just stupidity, which would explain why he was never evaluated. When my brother moved out, he proceeded to land himself in jail. I will not specifically say what for, but let me say that when I heard about it age 13, it dawned on me what he had done in our childhood years. He got a small sentence and was out on probation. He lived in our home country. My parents had moved with me to another country, not too far away as they were running from the law. But that's another story. My mother thought it would be a good idea to get rid of me for the summer holidays by flying me to our home country and basically storing me at my brother's tiny flat, like some sort of awkward household appliance. I didn't mind, as I had missed my home country a lot and had missed my brother. I was still 13 at this time and had to unfortunately frequently stop him from breaking his probation. He was not allowed to do or have certain things, and I found myself taking them away or lecturing him. He had drawn a happy picture of my parents, himself, and me, and told me how much he wished we could be like the picture. He told me he was worthless. We hid from debt collectors and loan sharks. He just kept getting himself into stupid situations without realizing the consequences. Anyway, I shall fast forward for the sake of length. 5 years later, I get the news that my brother has committed self-harm. Mom didn't tell me herself. She called my youth supervisor and told her to tell me. I was absolutely devastated. I had been in therapy for 2 months or so, and one of the things we were working on was the saw at the hands of someone I loved dearly, my brother. When I heard what had happened, I quit the therapy immediately. I had an appointment scheduled the same day I got the news and have not pursued any sort of therapy since. And I have not spoken about the abuse to anyone. Now this is all leading up to the 2 years of terror Mom put me through following my brother's self-harm. She and Dad had thankfully moved back to our home country when I was 15, leaving me with no family in this country. But I was honestly better off. I dread to think how much worse it would have been if she had been in the same country. Mom would call me and scream at me, bombard me with childhood pictures of my brother, and send horrible emails about how terrible she felt. She would spam my Facebook and rage about how this is the worst thing that could happen to a mother, her beautiful baby boy, her only son, etc. She would blame everyone but herself. She even tried to get my dear aunt charged with murder. Yes, I know. Multiple times she would threaten to kill herself, in the same way my brother took his life. Threatening me that if I didn't do this, she would be dead. I had to call the police in my home country from over here multiple times. She never gave me her address or telephone number, so the police also had to find her first before being able to tell me she was okay. Later on, during a telephone call about 2 years after he had committed self-harm, we spoke about my brother's jail time. She added, "I know things that he did that you don't. You have no idea, etc." I was extremely annoyed and told her to just tell me what she was talking about. She told me that when he was first jailed, he had broken down and told the police what he had done when we were children. He told them that when I was an infant, he and a friend, inspired by the James Bulger case, were going to rope and kill me. They obviously did not go through with it, but abused me instead. The police apparently told her that I was lucky to be alive, as he was pretty disturbed. She then told me that when I was a baby or toddler, she had walked into a room and my brother had taken my diaper off. I then told her in baby speak that he had touched me there. She said she told me to stop being rude, and she never thought about it again. So basically, she knew what had happened to me since I was 13. She still decided to park me at my freshly convicted abuser's flat for the entirety of my summer holidays with no supervision. Obviously, nothing happened, but I was still livid. She never once asked me if I was okay, even in my rebellious teenage years when I numbed myself with alcohol. She whined to me, saying that it was so terrible for her to find out something like that about her beloved baby boy. She had no sympathy for me whatsoever. I recall a time when I was about 9, when I refused to change clothes for football in front of the other children. The teachers wrote to her, voicing their beliefs that I was being or had been abused. I remember her being extremely angry and threatening to sue them, because it was preposterous. She then said something that has stuck in my mind ever since. Well, at least he didn't rope you. That would be much worse. Let's concentrate on the good memories. Well, friends, it's safe to say I barely have contact with her these days and haven't seen her in 5 years. I still grieve for my brother, as he was still my best friend growing up. His tortured soul is, at least, at rest. F you, Mom. You put us through endless torture as children and drove my brother half insane. Now he is at peace. In the comments. Sasmifras. Yes, also, F you, Mom. I'm really sorry about the pain you've been through and obviously still bear. Of course you still love your brother. There's nothing wrong with that. I hope that you're safe this year and that you have plans in place to nurture yourself. OP. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I blocked her on Facebook and have long since moved out of the youth hostel, so she has no address for me. It feels like she has lost interest in tormenting me. She said she has a younger boyfriend. God help him. I don't do anything for Christmas anymore, and I try to ignore it. I like to just relax and treat it as a day off. I am so relieved you would say that it's not wrong to still love my brother. He was very special to me. Thank you so much for your comment. U/pen and paper 30. Also, you may not be ready for it now, but think about therapy again, maybe. You don't need to get yourself there yet. Just play with the idea, maybe? I cannot possibly understand your very justified anger, but I've had anger issues of my own, and getting it out somehow is better than keeping it in. Please take good care of yourself. You are precious and worth that care. OP. I have been thinking about it a lot. I dissociate and suffer from PTSD and borderline personality disorder. Currently, I'm training to be a medical assistant and need all my strength for that, so I keep putting it off. Somehow, it feels shameful to talk about it. I can imagine talking about all the abuse suffered at the hands of my parents, but I can barely bear the thought of talking about the abuse by my brother. It feels insulting to his memory somehow. They will think badly of him. Abusers always seem to have the villainous role, and I don't see it that way at all, as he was also a victim. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, I still suffer horrendously from the abuse and have no way of coping because, well, he died, and I miss him. At the moment, I concentrate on working, being empathetic to patients, and taking care of them. That keeps me going.